now you got my attention. So I was like, well, okay, what can I do for you? And he says that a summons had come to my home that I or somebody pretending to be me had signed stating that I would be at jury duty, and that judge such and such, he gave a name, which not that I know the judges on the Gulf Coast, had issued a warrant for my arrest for not appearing. So, of course, my first reaction is a little excessive for somebody who didn't go to jury duty.
Yeah, right.
But
welcome to Aging in Style with Lori Williams, the podcast all about finding the silver lining no matter what life throws your way. I'm Lori Williams, an award-winning senior living expert, author, educator, and caregiver to my husband, Mark. Join me as I share insights, tips, and personal stories to help you navigate the world of senior housing, discover ways to pay for care, advocate for your loved ones, and most importantly, learn how to thrive, not just survive, as you age. Hi, welcome to Aging in Style. This is Lori Williams, and today we are talking about a scam that has been targeting people across the country. And I know here in Texas, where I live, I've gotten the call twice for this scam, and many other people I know have too. It's called the jury duty scam. And it's just one of those scams that sounds real enough to really scare you into action. And unfortunately, it's catching a lot of people off guard. And today we're talking to my brother, Craig Martin, who lives in Mississippi. And he called me, I guess it's been like a month or two ago, and told me that he had been a victim of this scam, or almost a victim of this scam. So he is going to tell us his story, just so you'll know what it's like when you get this call, or if you get this call. So welcome, Craig.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. You know, I'm going to be laughing because he's my brother, and I'm looking at him over Zoom, so it's just going to make me laugh. Okay, go on, Craig. Let's be serious now. Tell us your story.
Okay, so my story begins when I was leaving the gym one day. So I'm walking out of the gym, and my phone rings, and I look down, and it says unidentified caller, or whatever it says. And I never answer when it gives me that notification. But that day I decided I'm going to answer. So I answered it, and a gentleman sounding very official asked for me by name. And I said, I'm speaking. And he introduced himself as a detective with the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. I live on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So he picked one of the counties in the area. And he said that I'm looking for a Craig Martin who has a warrant for his arrest for not appearing for jury duty. And I said, well, I think you got the wrong Craig Martin. Good luck. Appreciate the call. And he's like, is this Craig Martin? And he gives my date of birth, where I live, and all the particulars. So I'm like, well, okay, I know you can get that anywhere, but now you got my attention. So I was like, well, okay, what can I do for you? And he says that a summons had come to my home that I or somebody pretending to be me had signed stating that I would be at jury duty, and that judge such and such, he gave a name, which not that I know the judges on the Gulf Coast, had issued a warrant for my arrest for not appearing. So, of course, my first reaction is a little excessive for somebody who didn't go to jury duty.
Yeah, right.
But plus, I didn't get such a summons. He said, well, is it possible your wife would have signed your name? I said, no, she wouldn't have, but I guess anything's possible. He goes, well, what we need you to do is I need you to come down to the Harrison County Sheriff's Department and go in front of our handwriting expert so we can see that the signature on this card is different than your signature. And then we can pretty much exonerate you.
So, Craig, they're making it sound, it sounds very official, and they're telling you to come to the sheriff's office, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so he gives me an address. Yeah. And when I Google the address while I'm talking to him, it's the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. I'm like, oh, this is good. Of course, I'm still thinking something ain't right here. And so I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I will come there and we will get this straightened out. So I'll see you when I get there. He goes, well, first, hold on. He goes, you can't hang up. I go, I can't hang up. And he said, no, I've got to keep you on the line the whole time. That way we got to prove that you're not a flight risk and that you are coming there straight to the sheriff's department. And I'm like, okay, that makes no sense. And he goes, well, we're doing this. We would have come and got you at your house, but because you didn't have a prior record, we decided we were just going to put a phone call in. And to back up a little bit, I said, why did it come up unidentified caller, no caller ID? And he said, well, we do that because if people see the police department calling, they're not going to answer. I'm like, oh, okay. So anyway, he says, you got to stay on the phone the entire time. That way I'm tracking you as you're traveling. And one clue that gave me an idea that this guy is definitely a scam is when I told him what city I was in. And I said, it's going to take me a little while to get there. He said, oh, but how long does that take? So I could tell he wasn't familiar with the area. It's like, if you're in Harrison County, and I'm in Hancock County, you're going to know how long it's going to take. Anyway, I'm driving. I'm like, okay, well, he's not asking for money. He's wanting me to come straight to the sheriff's department. Okay, I'll do that. I can't be harmed doing this. So I'm driving, and he even has like backroom chatter, like he's talking to another detective, and they're calling each other by these official names. And I'm still thinking these guys are good. And as I'm driving, and a little small talk here and there, he's asking, about my ETA and all that. And he finally says this. He goes, now, what I'm going to need you to do is I'm going to have to get a bondsman on the phone with this. I said, a bondsman for what? He goes, well, so you can pay the bond. And then once it's proven that it's not you, the money will be released. You won't be charged. We just need to get this. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what I'll pay when I get there.
A bond is if you're arrested, though, right? Then you bond. Is that correct? Okay, so he's
like you're bonding out of something.
Yeah, so I
haven't been arrested for anything.
Exactly. So were you thinking you were going to be arrested at that point, or this is a total scam now?
Well, that's why I said, I pay the bond if I fail this handwriting exam you're going to give me, right? And it shows that I actually did this you're talking about. And he's like, well, no, what we'll do is we'll give you the money back, once you're essentially exonerated. I'm like, okay. And so I go, well, just out of curiosity, how much is this bond? He goes, well, this is I think he said it was $3,000. It's going to be $3,000. But again, I'm going to get this money back once I prove that the signature was not mine. So he goes, now, what I need you to do, and he had told me before, I said, what if we lose, if I lose you, because I'm going to drive through some areas with poor cell coverage. He said, well, I'm allowed to try back 3 times. So I'll call you back 3 times. And after that, then we would have to issue a warrant and assume that you are fleeing the jurisdiction, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay. So anyway, when he tells me about the bondsman, at this point, I'm like, okay, this has been fun, but it's time to part ways. And so he puts me on hold to go to the quote unquote bondsman. So I hang up, and I called a friend of mine with the Hancock County Sheriff's Department, which is the neighboring county. And I'm trying to tell him, like, is there a way to catch these people? Is there anything you can do? And he's like, no, there really isn't. There's no way of tracking the lines. He said it's probably somewhere in another part of the world is where the line would be traced to. So anyway, I decided, well, you know what I'll do is I'll just keep driving. I'll go to the Harrison County Sheriff's Department and make them aware of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, the guy tries to call me back after I hung up on him. I see him calling several times. I'm not answering it. So
More than 3 times?
Well, yeah, probably so. He kept calling me for a while. And then finally, I think he realized the fish bit the hook.
Yeah.
And so I get to Harrison County Sheriff's Department, and I go in and I tell the lady what's going on. And she looked at me and she goes, if we had a warrant, we'd have come and got you. She said, no, we wouldn't have done that. I said, I know, I get it. It's a scam. I said, but I don't know if there's anything you can do, but you might be expecting others coming in, notifying you of it. Or is there a way to get it out to the public to let them know what's going on? And there really isn't. I mean, I guess if you go to the news team or something here, but there's so many scams and come up with so much stuff.
They're really good. So I guess what they would have done, their thing would be like you would pay the bond in quotes here, air quotes, you would have paid the bond. And then when you walked into the sheriff's department, then you would have found out it was a scam. Is that kind of how it would have worked, I guess, because they were having you drive there?
Yes, they would have laughed at me and told me, why did you fall for this? And so
I mean, the scammers,
sure
that's how they were going to get the money. So they were probably going to have you pay before you walked in.
Oh, absolutely. He wanted me to pay before I got there.
Yeah, he was saying
and I even asked him several times, kind of playing with him, so why do I have to pay before? Shouldn't I just pay after I do the test? And he brought up some stuff about expediting the process and that this is how it's done. And it's like kind of a guilty until proven innocent concept, isn't it? I mean, there are red flags. There's stuff that definitely keys you off to this is a scam. But the part of your brain is like, they're good. They know a
Mm-hmm.
lot about me. Granted, you can get that anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They sound very official. They're putting a lot of work into it. And quite frankly, when you said it was like $3,000, like, it was a lot of work for $3,000. So I
Yeah.
would have thought they'd asked for more. Maybe they had access to my bank account and knew I couldn't afford more.
Well, the scary thing is that they are very clever. They come up with all kinds of scams. And then I guess it also helped. They obviously weren't calling from India because he didn't have an accent, right? That would have sort of tipped you off too, right?
Yeah, no, he was definitely not foreign.
Yeah.
He was an American, or an American accent. And, but I think I started thinking about mom. Would she have fallen for this?
Mm-hmm.
And I think she might have, because, they do make it very official. They do try to intimidate you.
Mm-hmm.
They try to use the legal language to the best of their ability, and they've rehearsed it. They've got it down.
Yeah, I had them called, I guess it was several months ago, they called, and it was Harris County Sheriff Department, which is in Houston. And I live in Dallas, and they had my maiden name, and they said I had not shown up. And I'm like, well, that is very, very funny, because that's not even my name. And I've been married 35 years and haven't lived in Houston in, I guess, like 40 years or something, So I knew that one, something was very wrong with it. They didn't have the proper information, but I knew something was off. Well, at first, though, I didn't. At first, I thought, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Did they, how did they get my info? I thought maybe someone was impersonating me, had stolen my ID or something like that. But it's pretty scary. And they're kind of targeting with this one, everyone, because I've heard people of all ages, but they do target older people with a lot of the scams. And I know we talked on the podcast before, and I probably told you this one, Craig, how the grandparent scam. Do you remember when Joe got a call? He's our stepfather. Mm-hmm. Several years ago, he got a call from a guy pretending to be my son. And how they hooked them together, I have no idea, because neither one of them are on social media, live in different states, different last names. But the guy claimed to be my son, that he was in jail, that he had gotten into a wreck, drunk driving. And Joe called, and he said that he was asking for money and not to call me. And I said, hold on just a minute. And I looked, and I see Chris's car in the driveway, and Chris is there. I'm like, Chris is here and he's fine. So it was a scam, but luckily Joe did not fall for it. But that's another big one, the grandparent scam. And now this jury duty scam is probably the number one scam we're hearing now.
And to add an element of irony to the story, I just received a summons for jury duty. So it did not come certified mail, so I didn't have to sign anything. But in case the Harrison County Sheriff's Department is listening, I will abide by the law and come in. So.
Okay, so that's good to know. When you get a jury duty summons, it doesn't come certified.
Yeah, there's nothing to sign.
So if you didn't, when you get it, though, do you have to sign that you're coming for jury duty? Is that true? I don't think I've gotten a summons in years, so I don't even remember what it looks like.
This just came standard mail and didn't have any, didn't come to the door. They didn't ask me to sign. I didn't have to go pick it up. It just came to my mailbox. So.
Does it have a date and time that you need to go?
It has a phone number to call.
Okay.
And it does have a date and a phone number. I think you're supposed to call before the night before and just find out if you are needed and you show up.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I went, so I don't remember how it worked. So I was going to add a couple of tips here to help you avoid the jury duty scam or most scams. So one thing is that courts will never call you to demand immediate payment for anything. So they send official notices by mail. Never, ever pay fines with gift cards or wire transfers. A lot of times that's one thing they try to get seniors to do, is to go get gift cards or to do a wire transfer. If you do a wire transfer, your money is gone. So I know I've heard that many times, not to ever do a wire transfer. Don't ever give out personal information over the phone, like Social Security number or Medicare number. There's a lot of Medicare fraud that happens where they call and they ask the senior to get their Medicare card and give them their number. So that is definitely a red flag. And then just, if you're unsure about something, just hang up and call, like Craig did, call the sheriff's department and just say, is this a scam? Or is this a real thing happening? And then report it. You can report the scams to the FTC. So it's fraud.ftc.gov is the website I have. So those are just some things you can do. I know through this podcast, hopefully we'll reach more people, but I know at the senior center and different places like that around my area, they do education on scams and stuff. And we just really try to get the word out, but not everyone, hears about it. And sometimes you'll hear on the news something about a scam, but there are so many scams out there. It's insane. And I guess there's really no way they can catch them because they're typically in other countries. So not much you can do about it. So any other thoughts on this, Craig?
I would say as soon as they tell you you can't hang up or call anybody, that should be the biggest red flag.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting because even though I knew the whole time, in my senses, this was a scam and it was kind of fun to play along with them, there was part of me thinking, I wonder if there's some truth to this because they are really good.
Yeah.
I'm not used to, not that I've been the victim or the would-be victim of many scams, but I was surprised of how much went into this.
They were very detailed.
They were detailed. They need to put those acting abilities to better use.
Yeah, they sure do, right? So
more legal use.
Yeah, no kidding. Just think of all the good they could do rather than doing bad things and scamming people like that. So, well, thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. I appreciate you doing that. And hopefully you will save at least one person from being scammed out of their money with the jury duty scam.
Let's hope so.
Well, thank you, Craig. And thank you all for tuning in today. I will have the information on where to report fraud or report a scam. We'll have that in the show notes. And thank you for listening. Please share this with your friends and family and be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.